Thank you. You know, it's interesting as you're talking about, two things occurred to me. You mentioned how taxes have the ability to create uncertainty. Now, if we just take this not from the nationwide, but bring it down to a family, in Louisiana they are taxing, this new budget is going to tax oil and gas exploration. Well, it turns out 90% of oil and gas is done by not ExxonMobil, but small wildcatters, if you will. And these folks employ about 320,000 people in my state in petrochemical. Now, these are great jobs. These jobs give benefits. They allow people to pay their mortgage. They're not service level in that sense, but no, they are jobs of the type that you can raise a family. So earlier we heard our Democratic colleagues speaking about our need for energy independence, and I'm struck. It just kind of, I'm new here, so I don't quite understand it. We want energy independence. We want to create good jobs for working folk with good benefits, help the uninsured. But at the same time, we're penalizing a domestic energy industry which cannot move because it's domestic, which is helping our energy independence and which is creating these jobs.
Would the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
I serve on the Energy and Commerce Committee, and we are having hearings every week. We had one today on the proposed new proposals, cap and trade, they call it, of the Obama administration. Now, in a time of economic uncertainty, families and businesses and small businesses have to conserve. They have to be more efficient. They have to save. They have to be a lot more frugal. This is not the time to massively. We should be doing what we're supposed to do in a more frugal way, a more efficient way. And yet the new administration is proposing vast new proposals in the area of government-owned health care, in the area of cap and trade, a tax on all energy used in the United States.
Reclaiming the time here, you know, I recall standing not very far from where I'm standing right here in the floor of this House, and hearing the President make a promise. And I felt good when he made the promise. He said, I'm not going to tax anybody who's making less than $250,000. And I sort of slumped back in my chair, felt, well, at least he missed me. Now we're talking about cap and trade, and what he's going to do is he's going to increase the energy costs on every household across our country. It doesn't make any difference how much money you're making. If you use electricity or burning fuel, you're going to get zapped. And the average is $3,000 per household.
That's correct.
And that's what you're talking about. When you see that big yellow line, that just isn't a big old line on a graph. We're talking about families in America, in all of our districts, getting saddled. And this is just one proposal. This is just, quote, cap and trade.
Will the gentleman permit me to speak here? The cap and trade proposal really has 8 taxes on energy. And the President is proposing to raise $646 billion with this new cap and trade regime. So this big line here, the deficit here, which makes all the other deficits look small in comparison, is reflecting these massive new government programs. In the stimulus bill, we passed, not we, but the Congress passed, the creation of 31 new federal programs and an expansion of 73 existing programs. Massive government spending. That's what's reflected in this. Could I just point one other thing out, Mr. Chairman?
Certainly.
There's a good lesson in here. You see these 4 years right here, when the Republicans controlled the House and Senate. Speaker Gingrich was here. I served on the Budget Committee with John Kasich of Ohio. And because the Republicans in Congress worked with President Clinton, Clinton deserves some credit, we deserve some credit. We balanced the budget 4 years in a row, consecutive 4 balanced budget, and paid down on the public debt 4 years in a row. Real bipartisanship works. This phony bipartisanship of wanting us to come in at the last minute and vote for something without having any bipartisanship in creating the bill and crafting the bill at first, that will not work. Real bipartisanship is good for the country, not calling us in, trying to buy off 3 votes at the end. I'll yield back.
Yeah, the gentleman from Florida, Congressman Rooney.
Sir, I appreciate you saying that because as I stand here with my colleague, Dr. Cassidy, as a fellow freshman, I do believe that when we came up here after campaigning recently, what the American public, what at least my constituents were expecting was the bipartisanship that you're talking about. And I got to tell you, it's the biggest disappointment from taking the oath of office and starting as a congressman that that's just not reality. I don't know if that's how it's worked. Obviously, it has worked in the past, but that's not what we're getting now in this Congress. And it's an extremely disappointing, eye-opening phenomenon that, unfortunately, we have to endure. I just want to expand a little bit on what the gentleman was talking about with regard to the $250,000. On top of what you're talking about with cap and trade, or cap and tax, as some people like to call it, with the people that are going to have to pay the $3,000 per household to afford the energy costs that cap and trade will bring. But the $250,000 cannot be dismissed without first realizing you're talking about the small business owners and the people that in my district who employ 5, 10, 15 people. They have told me if they have to incur more taxes, because they do their taxes right now, if they have to incur more taxes, they're going to have to lay people off. So even if you don't make $250,000, you are going to be affected by this tax increase because you might be one of those people that the people making $250,000 lays off. So I think that it's important that the spending, the taxing, and now obviously the borrowing that we're having to incur is just the wrong recipe, as I said before, for the future of our country.
Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
You know, it's a little bit ironic. Our hopes are bipartisan. Our hopes are that we create jobs for the American people. Let's give it to our Democratic colleagues. They felt like spending this $1 trillion is actually going to stimulate jobs. Now, as I listen to you, Mr. Pitt, speak about your committee, John Marshall's quote occurs to me: the power to tax is the power to destroy. What I think our function here is actually to connect the fact that we share that hope for more jobs. But our fear is this tax, which is being justified by this deficit spending, will destroy. It'll destroy these kind of jobs we have in Louisiana for folks who may not go to college, but nonetheless earning $70,000 to $80,000 a year, sending their kids to good schools with good benefits, and we're going to destroy it in the name of creating new jobs. Now, that's kind of a, man, when I was running for office, Congressman Rooney, that was kind of backward logic. You know, let's first destroy it in order to save.
Well, if the gentleman will yield, and the question that you have to ask yourself, okay, say that there are jobs created, and certainly there may be short-term jobs created, but what happens when the money runs out? You either have to pass another stimulus bill to keep those jobs, or the small businesses are going to have to absorb those jobs, but if they have to incur a tax relief, if they're going to have to incur increased taxes, they're not going to be able to afford to do so. So this is a flash in the pan. Whatever jobs are created through the current stimulus, and we're seeing that there's a lot of things in that stimulus that we don't like so much, like bonuses for AIG, which is why we voted no, as we're criticized for doing. But it was the right thing to do, and I think that in the end, with what you're saying, Dr. Cassidy, is that there may be a short flash in the pan for jobs, but it's not the long-term jobs in this country. Yes, sir.
You know, the thought also occurs to me that obviously the jobs that are created, that have long-term benefit, are created by those small businesses. And so the thought occurs to me, someone said, a commentator of some sort, it is good that the stimulus package is going to have people hire two more, say, police officers. That's good, helps safety on the street. But 2 more police officers does not create 10 more jobs. On the other hand, if we can enable that small business will create 10 more jobs. So again, it just keeps echoing in my mind. The power to tax is the power to destroy.